Hi, I'm David, and welcome to EV World News, where we talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. Got kind of a fun article today. Comes to us from Lending Tree, and this is from insurance data about who the best and worst car brands are for getting in accidents. And this is actually quite fascinating. So, Ram trucks, which used to be Dodge Ram trucks, but now it's just the brand Ram, have the highest overall number of accidents. But what's surprising is it just barely edges out Tesla. And this is some surprising data. And so we're going to get into this. And it's just something to take with a little bit of a grain of salt. So we'll see what we've got here. And we'll dive into a little bit of why this is. So the Ram, Tesla, and Subaru have the worst drivers, while BMW drivers have the highest DUI rates. Of 30 car brands analyzed, Ram drivers had about 33 driving incidents. This is accidents, DUIs, speeding, and citations per thousand drivers. Tesla was 31 versus 33, and Subaru was 30. And they were the only brands whose drivers had incident rates above 30. Now, the funny one is Mercury had the best drivers. I don't even know if Mercury's still around. Mercury drivers had about 16 incidents per thousand drivers, half of the rates of the Ram drivers. Pontiac and Saturn, but definitely both brands are not around anymore, had about 16 and 17 incidents per thousand. Now, if you were to take people who drive Mercury, tend to be older drivers. They probably had the vehicle a lot longer, so it's not a newer vehicle. And so they're very experienced driving it. Pontiac, the same way. Saturn, I mean, I don't think Saturn's been made for 20 years, so it's really kind of surprising it's still there and those cars are still around. They were a pretty good program. What's interesting about Saturn was they were a no haggle pricing standpoint. They were still at a dealership, and I think a lot of people liked that. I had one as a work vehicle at one time, and they were a good little brand. Anyways, it was sad to see them go. But looking closer, Ram has the worst drivers in 23 states, highest incident rates of any brand. Now, these incidents, once again, they include accidents, DUIs, speeding, and citations. Okay, so there's a number of things here. Tesla's drivers have the actual highest accident rate. They had 23 and a half accidents per thousand drivers, which was slightly more than Ram and Subaru. And once again, Pontiac, Mercury, and Saturn were the only brands with less than 10 accidents per thousand drivers. Now, a couple things are a little quite noticeable here. Now, Ram is obviously a full size pickup trucks, okay, but the and it may have something to do with the demographic of people who drive those. Tesla has, of all the brands, probably has the highest average 0 to 60 times, just fastest overall cars. They're also a fairly new brand. And so a lot of your Tesla drivers haven't been in them very long, especially when you consider like the Tesla Model Y has only been out for like 2 years and it's the best selling car in the world. And so there's going to be a tendency for them to get into especially speeding tickets, but they were high in accidents. And I find that fascinating. And they don't drive like other cars. The braking system is different. And that could be part of it too, because when somebody lets off the gas in a Tesla, the car just fairly quickly comes to a stop. And not as fast as if you would hit the brakes, but it comes to a pretty quick stop, unlike gas cars that just glide after that. And so it's kind of interesting. See, that's also one of the reasons why you generally don't have to ever replace brake pads in a Tesla, or just because of the fact that it slows down that way. So it's a different style of driving. Now, BMWs have the highest DUI rate by a wide margin. BMW drivers had 3 DUIs per thousand, which was double or almost double the next closest, which was at 1.7 with Ram drivers, the next highest. On the other end, Mitsubishi, Volvo, Mercury, and Kia drivers had the lowest. Nine of 30 brands analyzed had DUI rates below one, which is, kind of interesting. But once again, if you look at Mercury dealers, they're definitely going to skew quite older. Volvo's known for people buy Volvo because it just screams safety. So this is kind of interesting. Here's the top 10 brands for driving incidents. The Ram, Tesla, Subaru, Volkswagen, Mazda, BMW, Lexus, Infiniti, Hyundai, and Toyota. It's interesting kind to see this, and a little bit of it is looking at the drivers. I was looking at another article talking about what the Tesla owners look different than the average driver. The average Tesla owner is upper middle class and probably switched from a luxury car brand to the Tesla. 77% of Model S drivers are male. 71% of Model X drivers are male. Now, males statistically get more tickets and accidents. They also tend to drive almost three times as much as females. So at a brand like Tesla, where it skews far higher to be male drivers, it's quite likely that they're going to have high rates. I'm sure Subaru is probably very similar. The Subaru WRX, for instance, is a very fast car. And so I think a lot of this tends to look at who the drivers are, maybe not so much uh, as much the vehicle itself. Dodge Ram drivers are going to almost, I would guess probably 90% male or higher. So you're kind of, once again, you're skewing also into people that are likely driving their vehicle for work purposes. Let's see. Tesla drivers tend to have higher incomes, about double the national average, and are likely to be homeowners. What was also interesting is Tesla drivers are unlikely to have children living in their home. 66% of Tesla owners do not have children in their home. Doesn't mean they're not parents, but they may be old enough their kids have moved out or the kids simply don't live with them. So I think that's kind of an interesting take about why Tesla drivers may have more accidents. Now, Ram, Tesla, and Subaru simply have the worst drivers. Ram has the worst drivers overall. Um, Driving incidents, like I said before, is accidents, DUIs, speeding, and citations. Rams are known for powerful engines with impressive speed and horsepower. The Ram 1500 had a which is listed on one of the fastest pickup trucks, at least for the base model, is particularly notable for that it does 0 to 60 in 7.4. Ram drivers finished in the top five among each of the four driving incidents analyzed. They had more speeding incidents than all the brands analyzed. They also had the second most accidents and DUIs and the fifth most citations. Tesla was the second worst with 31 driving incidents per thousand. Carried the brand was carried by its high number of accidents per thousand drivers. I tried to do some research on some of this. There's all kinds of Reddit posts about why Tesla drivers are the worst drivers in all of these different metros. And it was mostly talking about the Bay Area, around San Francisco, things like that. Tesla all produces several vehicles known for their performance. Kelly's Blue Book 2023 listed the 10 fastest electric cars, includes four Teslas. In third, Subaru had 30 incidents per thousand. Ram, Tesla, Subaru were the only brands whose drivers had rates above 30. And Mercury drivers were the best analyzed, more than 50% safer than Ram drivers. But once again, I think that has a lot to do with who is driving a Mercury. And I think also if these brands skew towards being driven, perhaps have a much higher customer base of females, you're going to have lower incident rates. A vehicle's crash is just one factor insurance companies look to determine how risky a particular model may be to insure. That said, a prior ticket, accident, or DUI usually has a bigger impact on your rates than the vehicle's safety record. Ram has the worst drivers across nearly half of the US. It's interesting that that is consistent. Tesla had the highest incident rate in 11 states. Aside from Ram, was the only other brand in the double digits. The nine other brands with high driving incidents in a state were Subaru, BMW, Infiniti, Volkswagen, Audi, Lexus, Mazda, Saturn, Volvo. Interesting, as I was doing research on this article, I read some insurance adjuster from Philadelphia said it was Nissan in Philadelphia, which I thought was kind of interesting because Nissan didn't really rate very high otherwise. Now here's by state, Alabama, it's the BMW. No, BMW, a lot of BMWs are made in Alabama. Alaska with the Volkswagen, didn't see that coming. Arizona with the Dodge Ram. Well, wow, look at this driving incident. California, 57 incidents per thousand drivers. Subaru is number one there. See, District of Columbia, Mazda is the high one with 52 driving incidents. Hawaii has real high, and it's with Infinity. It's interesting to see. Oh, Iowa's even high. I live next door to Iowa, 46. That's getting up there. Maine was 46. So some of these states are way above the norm. What's interesting is like a state like Arkansas, where Ram was the top one, had 20% or 20 per thousand. Let's see. The safest drivers, Pontiac, Mercury, and Saturn. Like I said, Saturn's not around anymore, which makes for a very interesting list. When it comes to DUIs, BMW was far and away number one, which is kind of interesting what it says about BMW drivers. Let's see. Ram drivers were about half that Subaru, and the list just kind of goes on down. Interestingly, Tesla had very low with the drunk driving. Um, let's see, the very lowest for drunk driving, Mitsubishi, Volvo, Mercury, Kia, Cadillac. Cadillac scored very interestingly as total accidents by brand. They were in the very bottom as well. So, and Chrysler was real low. So I find this kind of interesting. So the accidents and per drivers of different vehicles, Cadillac, Lincoln, Buick, all very low there. Although once again, your drivers probably average much older that drive those vehicles. Buick, then as you get to vehicles that are typically going to be driven by younger drivers, it tends to skew to more accidents. So some of that doesn't mean it's necessarily something not safe about the vehicle. It tends to say more about the drivers than anything else. Yeah, the torque on the Teslas can be a little bit excessive, and so that really does cause you know, issues. It's just unusual if you've not driven an electric vehicle and seen how fast they accelerate. Because when you touch the gas pedal, I'm still calling it a gas pedal, it's instant acceleration. It's not the delay that it takes for the fuel to get in the engine and start recirculating. Let's see. Anyways, I thought this was just kind of interesting to see that there was these kind of issues the with the best and worst cars. So to a certain extent, it looks like yes, Tesla drivers may be the worst drivers on the road, and so it's not, which is fascinating considering it makes me wonder if there are people who are ignoring the features to help with preventing accidents in those vehicles, or maybe they're too reliable on them. So that does make it kind of interesting. I got one more article I want to talk about today. And this article is about hardening EV chargers. So one of the things that's interesting is in the world of EV chargers, if people that are getting them charged at a non-Tesla charging station very often have bad experiences. I've reported before on this national average is 1 in 5 or 20% of charging attempts that are started don't end up charging. And this has a lot to do with whether your connection connects, your software you're using, the apps, you're able to make it work. See, with the Tesla one, you just take it, you go to the charger, you plug it into your car, it dings your credit card automatically. You don't even have to activate the app or anything. It just will start charging. With the other brands, you have to have the app for that particular charger. And so it could be any number of brands, and it makes it interesting. So what I've got here is this is an article that came from Clean Technica, and it's talking about turning welding machines into EV chargers. So Lincoln Electric is well known to tradespeople as making high quality welding equipment. Company's been around since 1895, so I'd suggest that they probably know a thing or two about making equipment, especially for being used outside. So a Lincoln Electric is making the Velian Level 3 DC fast charger platform. Says fast charging speeds, unparalleled reliability for the ultimate performance and uptime. Now, they're designed with industrial grade components to leverage the company's more than a century of experience designing, testing, and building high quality industrial equipment that has stood the test of time, including 50 years of experience making rugged, reliable electric power conversion systems for a wide range of harsh outdoor operating environments. And I don't know, it's really the outdoor environment that's the problem. I think a lot of it is just people maybe being abusive with the equipment, being who knows? Just something's not. Maybe it's cheapness on the connectors that connect to your vehicle, different things, but it's definitely there's definitely issues. Now, the first charger is 150 kilowatt Velian DC fast charger, would exceed 75% of domestic content and is engineered to exceed 97% uptime with an output of 1,000 volts, 150 amps, charging efficiency of 95%. It'll operate between -31 Fahrenheit and 122 Fahrenheit, delivering reliable performance in a wide range of operating conditions. Now, let's see. Lincoln Electric is vertically integrated. Anyways, I just find this kind of interesting because that's one of the issues for people that are non-Tesla drivers, being able to get appropriate charging stations. And it certainly has been a challenge. The So let me see. It started 2 years ago when a group of senior engineers walked into the office of the CEO. They explained the similarities between direct electric vehicle chargers and the plasma electronics equipment the company has long manufactured. We think we can make these. If you open up a welding machine or plasma cutting machine, you would see power electronics. And, anyways, so they went on from there. When people plug in a vehicle, the charger and car go through a series of electronic messages and handshakes that share information about the car and the charger and details about how much electricity is needed. Anyways, I just thought that that was kind of interesting to see. It's kind of a nice take. Anyways, if you've got interest in some other content you'd like to see from us, please leave us a comment. Make sure to like and subscribe. Um, and we're glad you were able to listen with us today. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.